an unreleased fragrance by Azzaro. Let's talk about it. What's going on, guys? My name's Neeb. Welcome back to AROMATIX. So today we're going to be talking about something that's actually pretty epic, newly released, or I should say unreleased. It's not out yet. It's the new Azzaro Forever Wanted Elixir. And first things first, how cool is that? I got a box that's unmarked and with a lab sample from Azzaro themselves. This right here was full in its entirety of the brand new all gold Wanted Elixir. So I'm gonna turn this down a little bit because who needs to hear some fake crackling, and we're gonna go ahead and get into this fragrance. So this is a total of 3 days worth of wearing for a fragrance that's unreleased. I got a package in which a bed sheet almost like came in.
I can't sleep on that.
And then this lab sample here. I think it's so cool. An unmarked sample, official from L'Oreal. That in itself is like such a milestone, you guys, starting from literally the edge of my bed into finally getting like a lab sample from L'Oreal. So shout out to L'Oreal, shout out to the Azzaro lineup, which you guys already know have been dropping nothing but bangers from the Wanted lineup. Forever Wanted Elixir is coming out in April 2025, and I had the honor and pleasure of being able to review this first on a campaign that they had. And aside from the campaign, this video is not paid whatsoever. It's 100% genuinely my opinion. 3 days worth of wearing, and I have to admit, this is something I fell in love with. So the first thing that I want to mention is that the key notes for the fragrance, which is going to be raspberry and leather, those two notes are trending in perfumery right now, along with the orange flower. If you think of fragrances that have been getting a lot of talk and hype, like Ombre Nomade, etc., including Carnal Desire, what do they all have in common? It's that raspberry and leather scent profile. So this has to be one of the first ones, at least during this year, to really capitalize or utilize on the trending notes, done in a very mass appealing, compliment worthy, and designer way. And I have to admit, they do a really damn good job at this one. I really enjoyed rocking this one, and to be honest with you, I'm pretty upset at the fact that I'm almost out. I want to keep this lab sample just for memories and good stuff, so I don't want to run through all of it. I will be buying a full bottle soon, and here's whether or not you should buy your bottle. I have every single flanker from the Wanted lineup, and I would rank them as the following. In the third spot, I would place it as Wanted by Night. There's just something unusually addicting about that scent profile. Something with the citruses along with those fruity notes, and to my nose personally, I detect a little bit of this crisp apple with this spice and a pretty hefty dose of some woods, tobacco, vanilla, and ambers. Something about those fragrances that start off seeming to go in one realm and then dry down into another just really get a lot of attention, compliments. It's the unusual factor that first gets that initial impression or the initial attention, and then whether or not it smells good after the initial attention grab is whether or not it's a compliment worthy, etc. It honestly reminded me of realm of fragrances like Mont Blanc Legend Night. That one being much lesser quality, it doesn't really last as much, but it has this very crisp apple along with vanilla that women seem to love. So Wanted by Night was my most complimented one from the entire Azzaro DNA. And I place it at number 3, but I kind of want to place it between number 2 and even number 1. The reason I don't place it there is because of the next one, which is the Wanted Eau de Parfum. So the Wanted Eau de Parfum concentration was the all black one. It kind of reminded me of like the Azzaro DNA done with a stronger with you approach. So something that's aromatic, spiced, ambery, vanillic, but also having a burnt toffee accord. Not quite going directly into the same realm as Stronger With You, which is a little bit more nutty, creamy, and playful. This one having a bit more masculinity to it, less playfulness, but super sexy stuff. Projection, also compliment worthy, and one of the best date fragrances. Then shortly after that, the number 1 spot was the Azzaro Most Wanted Parfum. It took something in between both realms, except it didn't really take into account some of the fruity nuances that you got from Wanted by Night. Rather, it took some spicy aspects along with that toffee, the ambery, and it placed it into this one perfect scent that I personally believe to be the best one, which was the Azzaro Wanted Parfum. The cardamom, the cinnamon, the ambers, the toffee vibes, super sexy stuff. And now I would personally place this as number 1, shifting them all down by 1 spot. And here's why. So this one seems to have some of the best aspects of literally all 3 fragrances, and this is exactly my experience. Now, with the opening of that fruity nuance that I was getting with Wanted by Night that I personally loved, you get that with this, except with this, it's gonna be a raspberry, and not so much something that's as crisp, but rather zingy. I personally detect the nuance of ginger, which kind of allows the raspberry to not just go in this fruity and maybe even slightly I don't want to say syrupy, it doesn't go in that realm, but sweetened, naturalistic way. It also adds that other effect of that crisp, or I should say zingy more accurately, attention-grabbing opening. As it starts to dry down, you get something that's relatively familiar, coming from the spice of cardamom, and that's the relationship that it ties between this one and also the parfum. But also underneath that, you get the amber woods and that toffee style of sweetness that's signature in all three, but even more so in the Wanted EDP Intense, the all black one. And then as it dries down even more than that, what this one offers that all three don't is going to be this base that is leather, but it's not like a sickly style of leather. It's not overdone. It's just something that really helps support those ambers and really give it a body, a full body and depth, giving it almost like this luxury appeal. So while it is still a mass appealing fragrance, it does have designer aspects to it. I would personally say that this is probably the richest of all three fragrances. Actually, not probably, it is. So it has that same richness and depth as the EDP Intense, but it still maintains a certain zingy and catchy effect at the top from the Wanted by Night, and that mysterious and sexy spiced cardamom coming from the Wanted Parfum. I think that this is all around the best blended out of them all, and being one of, if not the actual best of them all. Also, that raspberry is something new. It's something that it does a really good job in combination with that ginger that I personally haven't smelled up until today. For the most part, I'll smell like raspberry along with saffron, etc. And keep into consideration in mind that this is still a designer fragrance. It's not intended to be something that's punchy or polarizing, but it still does have something that's relatively rich, full-bodied, and a very enjoyable scent profile. If you're expecting something niche that packs punches, punch, 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 wedgie, in very specifically the raspberry or something in the leather, that's not what it's going to be, nor is it designed for that. But it is one of a higher tiered smelling designer fragrances that will satisfy, I feel like, both sides of the spectrum. A little bit of something unusual and different while still being in that territory of something safe, very mass appealing. Then I highly recommend you check out this flanker. So I personally rock this one, not just for dates. Obviously, I did test this one out for a date. It was great. It projected. It gave me about 3 hours, I would say, maximum of projection, with a total longevity, I would say, of about 8.5 hours, probably capping it at that. I am looking forward to the bottle. It's going to be all gold. You guys know how I feel about my gold.
I love gold.
But before I tell you any more, I wanted to let you know that my fragrances aromatics are now available on jomashop.com, and they're currently shipping out today. So get your bottles while supplies last. And also, here are some codes if you want to save some cash on fragrances. I hardly ever buy anything retail unless it's brand new, and usually within 3 to 4 months. I regret it because it ends up on one of these sites, and you can use one of these codes to get your Middle Eastern niche fragrances or designers for less than retail. Now back to the video. And lastly, I would say that this is a sweeter style of fragrance that also has a sexy appeal to it, or a sex appeal to it, that's more versatile than just the winter and the fall time. If I had to classify them as seasons, I would say that this will work in every season. Summer nights, more so than the days. I probably wouldn't do it during the days. Wanted Intense EDP is probably just a colder weather, the winter and the fall. The Wanted Parfum, every season, but maybe not the summer. And Wanted by Night working a little bit more so like this. So versatile, sexy. Yes, it's unique in a world of a lot of redundant fragrances in the designer realm. It still is unique. So as of right now, if I had to give this one a rating, I would personally place this at like a 9.8 to a 10 out of 10. The Parfum, I'd place it at a 9.6. It's still really good. The Azzaro Most Wanted Intense EDP is like a 9. And then the Wanted by Night is about an 8.7 to an 8.9 as well. That one a little bit more challenging, if you will, a little stranger, more unusual, and less mass appealing. So Forever Wanted Elixir is one of the elixirs that I don't think is redundant. It's very sexy. Yes, it's a designer scent, but it does have new elements in the designer realm, at least in my opinion. I definitely think it's worthy of at least checking out. Let me know what you guys think. I know there's a lot of people, a lot of you out there that have been rocking with me for this long. Isn't that not crazy, you guys, how the world works? One day you're like a chef in a kitchen, and the next day you could literally be like the best mechanic in the world. And what the f is that? What am I even trying to say? What I'm trying to say is that you really never know what God has in store for you tomorrow or the next day. But what you do know is what you're passionate about. And fragrance has always been my passion. I love fragrance, man. I personally find an appreciation even for some fragrances that are not that good because of my love for fragrance. But what I do love to do is share that passion with you guys and my honest opinions and impressions on these fragrances. Whether or not you pick this up is completely up to you. I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm only sharing my honest opinion on the brand new Forever Wanted Elixir. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys think about these new releases, along with the Wanted Elixir, and how you feel about the best Azzaro Most Wanted, obviously aside from this one, because it's not out yet. My name's Neeb. Thank you for tuning back into AROMATIX, and I'll see you in the next one.